Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Lady, are you out of your mind? Trying to arrest our OP so many times? That's crazy. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Elderly woman tries getting me arrested 3 times in a row. I work for a drink vendor in the USA. I go to stores and stock them with beverages from my company. I don't work for the actual store we're taking stock for. This event happened a few months ago while I was stocking a rather small yet local grocery store with drinks. A 70-year-old woman, me, which will be me, and the manager are the players of this bizarre event. I'm working the shelves when I see a 70-ish woman flagging me down. Me? Yes, can I help you with something? Old lady. I can't remember exactly what they asked for, but it wasn't a soda, so I had no clue and told her as such. When I said I didn't know where the item was, she huffed at me. Stop being lazy and find it if you don't know where it is. It's your job to know where everything is. You work here. Me. My eyes went wide as I was currently listening to Reddit stories. I wish to the heavens it wasn't I don't work here. It was Entitledparents, but I realized it was happening. I collected myself and replied the famous line, Ma'am, I don't work here. I work for... Old lady cuts me off. You do work here. You're stocking the shelves. Stop being lazy or I'm going to scream you tried to rape me and ruin your life. Me, at this moment, I went into panic mode as I've listened to way too many stories to know that will ruin me even if it's not true and found out later. I then had a genius idea in that moment. I tapped my earpiece and said out loud, Eric, you hear that? Did you get that? Old lady. Who are you talking to? Me. My friend, we were recording a podcast when you threatened me. He got that on recording, so I advise you leave now while you can, or it'll be your life that's ruined. Old lady, she huffs and leaves. I thought that was the end of it. Nope, she came back with a manager for the store. Old lady. This is the employee that recorded me without my permission. I want him fired and the police called. Me. Did you tell him why I recorded you? Old lady, it doesn't matter. You didn't have my permission. Manager, what did you record her saying? Me, lady, you want to tell him or shall I have him listen to it? Old lady sighs. Fine. I said I'd scream rape if he didn't do his job. It worked on so many other employees, I don't see what's wrong with it. Now call the police and fire him. Manager, she looked horrified at the old woman and I started laughing. Me. You heard her, right? I said to the manager who confirmed, then I grinned and said, Ma'am, I didn't record you. I was listening to podcasts. Old lady, she got red and without missing a beat, looked at the manager and said, I'm not joking, said, he tried to rape me. Call the police. Me, my mouth dropped as the manager has no clue what to say. Luckily, I did. Ma'am, you wouldn't know this, but I've been on hormones for the last 2 years. I don't know how I could rape anyone. I haven't been able to get it up in like 2 years. Manager ends up laughing her butt off and the old woman just left, never saw her again. The manager apologized and I was just laughing my butt off that it worked. If it didn't, who knows where I'd be? Probably locked up with my life ruined because I didn't know where something was. I wasn't going to post this till later. I told my friend, Eric, not his real name of course, and he laughed for a solid 10 minutes. Hope you enjoyed. OP should have asked the manager to call the police. The customer uttered a threat and repeated it in front of the manager. She said she'd done it before, so she should feel the impact of her threats. However, a humorous revelation about the vendor's physical state derails her plans, leaving everyone amused. The absurdity of the situation showcases the power of wit in navigating unexpected challenges. What a ride. And our second story. Logistical Christmas Chaos, the tale of 2 teams and 5,000 unprocessed presents. This is a story from my former employer where I managed operations for clients at a third-party logistics company. Number of employees in my team was managed by my manager who worked off my input regarding pending work. During the month of December, my clients were in the middle of the rush to get new merchandise into our warehouse and then out to their clients. We received around 2,000 pieces of merchandise which had to be processed in. The client was shipping another 3,000 pieces next week. My regular team was 6 people, and I was down to 4 because my manager needed manpower elsewhere. We were backed up on regular operations and couldn't spare anyone to do the 2,000 pieces. I let my manager know that I needed the 2 people back he has taken away, plus an additional person to make sure we hit the service level agreement. He gives me a stern reply stating that he knows exactly how much work I have and manage with the team you have. Within a day of this conversation, my team's down to 2 people, so no way we were going to finish the additional work. Cue malicious compliance. Given we had priorities set by the owner of the company, we didn't get to the 5,000 pieces in the next 2 weeks. Market value of these items is upwards of $500,000, and the customer wants them processed as soon as possible. The service level agreements were for 48 hours, and we missed it by a week and a half. Our client chews out my company's owner, who's pissed off at me. I narrate the story stating I cannot have a team of 2 people do the work of 7 to 8. I get the additional manpower needed the next day with an open line to the owner to sidestep my manager at will. When the company owner sets up a bypass line, you know your days are numbered. I wonder how long the manager lasted. But your clever use of malicious compliance by highlighting the impossibility of managing with a reduced team ultimately gained you the additional manpower needed and a direct line to the owner. And our last story. The HOA claiming part of my property is actually my neighbor's. For reference, this started in early 2019 and concluded by late 2019. Oh man, this was my life when we first moved to my current house. The HOA in our area near a retirement home has been slowly buying all the property to complete their master plan of making the area look like the best retirement home in the state. To their credit, they own all the houses for about a 1,000-foot radius from the walls of the retirement home. The retirement home is also a supporter and pseudo-member of the HOA. They're not a member, from what I understand, but pay a large portion to fund projects. So here's where I come in. My house is off of a main road, but the connecting road is a dead end. Part of that dead end road has a connecting road that's another dead end road, but 100% in the HOA. My road has about 15 houses on it, 8 of which I know are in the HOA, including my neighbor. When I first bought the house, I had my agent and my lawyer go over the deed to make sure it was clean prior to closing, and it was. So about 2 weeks after I moved in, the HOA reps show up at my house and try to sell me on joining. I tell them no. They press me. I tell them I may consider giving money to projects if I think it'll directly increase my property value, but I refuse to be under the control of the HOA. They leave, and I figure that's that. About a week later, they come back and say the previous owner had given money to the HOA in the past, and they consider this to be HOA dues, so I'm technically a member. I tell them nowhere in any of the house documents is this recorded, conveyed, or expressed. I give them my lawyer's number and tell them to call him with any further questions, but they'll be billed by him for such information. Surprise, surprise. They don't ever call him and still consider me to be an HOA member. So about another week or 2 goes by and they hit me with a violation. I was fixing my car in my driveway and left it out overnight, incurring a $150 fine. I call them, tell them I won't pay, and have rescinded my offer to consider helping pay for future HOA projects. They inform me that unpaid fines could become a financial matter that lead to a lien and foreclosure. I tell them good luck with that and send the violation back to them. I get one more violation for leaving garbage cans out on the street overnight and such. I send them back with a sticky note saying I'm not paying. They decide to up their game. They're claiming part of my property is actually my neighbor's. For reference, most of my property is fenced, minus my driveway, some yard to the sides of the driveway, and the front yard of my house that's part of the sidewalk. They try to claim that one side of my driveway and part of my driveway is my neighbor's. I know this is BS because the fence was put in 2 years ago and I had the prior owner's surveyor report, but I didn't tell them that. So they have a guy come out while I was at work, and not only does he go on my property without permission, but he literally opened my fence, went into my backyard, and tried taking measurements. My SO works remote completely, so she caught him and told him to leave. He claimed he could do this since it was for surveying, so she called the cops. Cops came and forced him off. A week later, I get notice that the HOA/my neighbors, Greg and Janet, are claiming part of my yard. I send my surveyor's report along with the permit pulled for the fence to their lawyer. My lawyer does a courtesy call to their lawyer and lets them know any future contact with me will constitute harassment and I plan to sue. Things are quiet for months until the city planning board calls me out of the blue. Turns out the snakes tried to get the city to notarize the claiming of my property via their surveyor's report, but they refused. They called me to ask for documentation, and I provided them what I had. Their request was shot down. My lawyer called theirs again to let them know, and I showed up at a monthly HOA meeting that month to let all the HOA members know. I've had a few neighbors come over and ask about it since then, and my neighbors Greg and Janet occasionally give me crap for violating HOA rules. At this point, I sometimes go out of my way to do it. I usually park my car in the driveway, but I parked it on the gravel all summer, specifically because the HOA forbids that. I make noise past 10 p.m., the HOA limited time. I've had what they consider to be large gatherings and regularly leave my bins out the night before on trash days. I haven't heard from them in an official capacity for over a year. My HOA neighbors will every now and again say things like, grass is probably over X, might want to cut it, and bins are supposed to be off the street by 5 p.m. on trash days, but the non-HOA neighbors don't do anything. One of them, I actually brew beer and drink said beer with him and his wife a couple of times a month. All in all, most of my neighbors don't really bother me anymore, and I gained a few solid neighbors from the ordeal. I also despised HOAs prior to owning this house, so it's a bit of a personal victory for me. Enduring the onslaught of a power-hungry HOA, your battle began when they claimed you were a member due to the previous owner. Exposing their ploys at an HOA meeting, you gained community support. Your subtle defiance, like parking on gravel, became a personal victory. Now, as the HOA retreats, your story stands as a testament to individual triumph against collective control. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.